And good morning. It's another Tom and Shane podcast. Tom Eaglehoff in Bozeman, Montana. Shane with Tobin, alive and well, half man, half amazing, in Kamloops, Canada. We're happy to be with you. Hey, if it's your first time here, why not subscribe? Ring the notification bell, like us, because that boosts us in the ratings a little bit with YouTube. So we appreciate if you would do that. Also, if you'd like to support us monetarily, there are some great benefits for doing that. And there's a link in the description below to do that. And also, if you'd like to make podcasts like this, we use StreamYard, and there's a free link to that in the description below. So you can try it out and see if you like it. Today, we're going to talk about Guantanamo, Guantanamo Bay. I don't know, Shane, is it still relevant? Is it? We're not at war with anybody. I don't think we've captured anybody on the battlefield lately.
No, that's right.
What's the deal?
Yeah. Well, it's a 45 square mile piece of Cuba. Interesting thing is that, just some context for people that may or may not know, Cuba is an amazing place. It's not a very large island, 64% white, 27% mixed, and just a little bit more than 9% black, which is quite interesting in the context of the population. And it's one of these places that we look at because it's so far. I mean, it's so close to the United States, and the interesting thing about it is that there's less than 11 or just about 11.2 million people on the island, but they're having a real hard time. They always have been. Their GDP in 2015 was 254 billion, and nominal. Now it's down to around 107 billion today. So the sad reality is that it started out as a indigenous island. Before the Spaniards came, there were basically three indigenous people: the Taino, the Chibane, and the Guanahatabe, and they're all gone now. They were wiped out by disease and insurrection and annihilation by the Spaniards. And then, of course, the great thing that took place was 1898, the Spanish-American War, because of the sinking of a ship in the harbor of Spain, and that ignited a war between French and the Americans against Spain. And the result of it, of course, was in the Americans won, and the, May 20th, 2000 or 1902, Cuba became independent. Now, the reason that's important is because in the original treaty of 1901, for $20 million, the U.S. bought Puerto Rico, Guam, Cuba, and the Philippines from Spain. 20 million for those properties. They gave independence to Cuba and the Philippines, and they've kept Guam, and they've kept Puerto Rico. So that gives you an idea. Now, the Guantanamo Bay came about because of Cuba's independence. The U.S. agreed to their independence in 1901, but the Platt Amendment that was passed had 7 stipulations for the U.S. to remove their troops, and one was to give up Guantanamo Bay, which is a huge harbor, fabulous naval harbor. So that's how we got it. That's where we're at. Now we're going to talk about everything everyone wants to know today about Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah. Well, the question is it still relevant? Do we, there's been a lot of talk about why don't we shut it down? Do we really need it any longer? Is there, um, I realize we still have some people there, and I go back to Bo Bergdahl, who was traded for 5 Taliban leaders that are now higher up in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
So, who do we have anybody there who's still a danger? Or
No, there's
you know,
not very many.
no,
There's around 270, I believe, or excuse me, no, there's less than that now. I mean, there's 37 that remain. But let's look back again because it's really important. 1991 in the Haitian earthquake, There was a massive amount of Haitian people that left the island on boat and wanted to head to the U.S. So Bush Sr. had the Navy pick them up, the U.S. Coast Guard, and they took them all
Mhm.
to Guantanamo Bay, and they set up refugee camps. Now this is great: 52,000 refugees they parked
Mhm.
in by 1994. And anyway, very few of them came to the United States. Less than percent of that of the 52,000. The rest were returned to Haiti. So that gives you an idea of how large it is, and the facility can be utilized because of it's a great piece of the island. It's there's a small hill on the property that gives you them sight, and there's 100 and I think it's 147 miles of
Mhm.
fencing that they put up, plus secondary fencing, with a minefield. So yeah, as a
Mhm.
military base, particularly in the Caribbean, it's too critical for the United States to consider giving up.
Yeah, yeah. I one of the things I remember reading was the prisoners there gained on average about 18 pounds while they were while they were incarcerated there. So
Yeah, that's right.
if there's any
Yes,
good or not. So, well, what about the military force? We still have a military contingent there, obviously.
that's right. And it's not very significant. I mean, it's when you look at it in terms of how many people are there, it's around 6 to 10,000, depending on the need. It's a and mostly Marines and Army, and they claim the annual budget, to take care of these inmates is like $78,000 a year. It's not really that much. It's far
Mhm.
less than that. That's just the media, but
I was going to say,
um,
I don't think you could feed that many people for 78,000 a month,
exactly.
let alone
That,
let
yeah,
alone
yeah.
all the maintenance and everything you need to keep the place running.
Yeah, the Navy in the United States spend about 540 million a year,
Hmm.
to
That's a
maintain
little
the
more like
facility.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's got to be
and
in the millions.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
got
it's
to be in the
40
millions.
million. And while there is a cost to the prison, it isn't just to maintain the existing inmates. There are other refugees actually that are there, but no one talks about it.
Mm. Yeah, are they refugees imprisoned or just
No, no, but
they're just
anyone
on the eye? They're just on the base.
the
They're on the.
facility has two parts to,
Mhm.
there's the high risk detention, and they're
Hmm.
in a prison, and then there's a camp there for refugees because that
Yeah.
was established with Bush Senior and everything.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I, I guess the question is, what do you do with the people that are there? They haven't had their day in court. Certainly, they've just been sitting there for years and years. So,
Well,
do you turn
that
them loose or
no, it's
take them to some tribunal or what?
well, no, they have tribunals there. They're military
Hmm.
tribunals. They're very, very
Hmm.
slow, and
Hmm.
that's been the big political issue.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, of course, is that anybody that comes to the United States immediately gets their guarantees under your Constitution. So, the media's always looked at Guantanamo Bay as one of these black ops situation.
Hmm.
And, under the Patriot Act, of 2002 after 9/11, even America, I mean, that's how they put people in solitary confinement from January 6th was, the Patriot Act. Well, you're a
Hmm.
terrorist.
Yeah.
So we don't have, you don't have a right to a lawyer. You don't
Hmm.
have a right to a speedy trial. Oh, and we're going to put you in detention and solitary confinement. So it's happening right here, country now with
Hmm.
Americans. But the fear of having any of these people come here, they wouldn't treat them like
Hmm.
that because Americans don't really understand what is going on with these people from January 6th. If they really did, they'd be outraged because they're being treated
Hmm.
worse than the guys in Guantanamo. I mean, they've got a
Yeah.
soccer field and they got
Hmm.
a cricket field, and They're outside all day long, 3 squares, TV, books. They can pray. The whole
Yeah,
gamut.
they got the whole 9 yards. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
I think even the toilets face east or whatever they're supposed to, whatever direction they're supposed to face. I don't know,
That's
but
right. Yeah,
anyway,
east. Well, they face towards Mecca. Yeah, so
yeah, that's the point. Yeah,
they
that's
would face northeast, I guess.
I don't know how they know, but I guess they just take the word of the captors that we did that
They,
for
they
you.
they do it by the sun. They do it by
Oh,
the sun.
okay, all right. So at least they know the general direction, I guess,
That's
huh?
right. Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know, but yeah, well, I don't know. Guantanamo's always been a big deal. Cuba's always been a big deal. Shane, as you know, Obama opened it up. Trump closed it back down. Biden opened it back up. You know, it's one of the few communist countries left, I guess, in
Oh,
the
it is.
world.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That Venezuela and Cuba. That's about it. I don't.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to throw China in there, probably. They're quasi communist, I guess, and Russia, same thing. But
And
anyway,
and everybody knows the story from The
mhm.
Godfather. The
Yeah,
mob was building up Cuba in the 40s
mhm.
and 50s, building casinos. So, I mean, as countries go, it's a developing country. It's
Mhm.
not third
Yeah.
world. They just don't have access to a lot of things because of the
Well,
Americans
trade
there.
restrictions and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I
Well, they
mean,
got a lot of
it's only what 75 miles, I think, from the United States, and then you had the whole
yeah.
Cuban Missile Crisis with Castro and Khrushchev, and so that established it's presidents come
Mhm.
along once in a while and establish a presidential guideline for the world, and then that was
Mhm.
Kennedy's.
Mhm.
Any movement of nuclear weapons to Cuba would be unacceptable and considered an act of war.
Yeah.
Next week's
Mhm.
tease is nuclear weapons on Tuesday, so or
Yeah.
if you want Thursday, but I mean, we'll
Mhm.
talk about that maybe again in the future because people should hear about it because they need to know what's going on in the threats that Putin's making today.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly true. So, well, I I always thought it was interesting that if Cubans made it to Miami, they got to stay. If Haitians made it to Miami, they were sent back. And
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
and that's politics and policy, yeah. But
mhm.
now under your new administration, anyone that puts a foot on your land,
Yeah,
they're in.
they're
I mean,
here. Yeah,
it's a go to get out of jail free card.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
So,
right. Yeah,
well,
yeah. Your president's playing Monopoly, and he's
mhm,
monopolizing every state to hoard
mhm,
illegal immigrants
mhm.
and thinking that they're all going to vote for Democrats. Well, why would they come to America with the dream and then vote for the people they ran away from? I mean,
Yeah.
that
Well,
makes sense to me. It's just weird.
well, they the Democrats have a pretty good disguise, free stuff.
Yeah,
We'll give you free stuff if you vote for us. You get
yeah.
free food, free housing, and all this stuff, free medical, free education. We'll take care of you from cradle to grave. And why would you not vote for us?
Well, that may be true more so in the United States because it's already here,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
they come here and they see it, and it's everything that they dreamed of, and then they get the benefit of having it
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
and for free.
Yeah.
But in Cuba, it's the same. It's the same promise. Everything's inexpensive
Hmm.
and free, but there's nothing there. There's no medical system. Although
Yeah.
they pride themselves on medical research, that's one of the biggest aspects of their economy, and of course, sugarcane. But people
Mhm.
aren't using sugar as much as they were, and so I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
all yeah,
corn syrup now. So
yeah, it's corn
yeah.
syrup
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they do have a boatload of 56 and 57 Chevys there. So, they got something
Incredible.
going for them. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, you know,
Can't get any cars in. So
can't
you
get
just
any.
keep remaking, rebuilding the ones you have. So,
Yeah, I'm sure there'd be several shops that would get
yeah.
shows on TV about maintaining classic cars. Not to mention what they'd sell them for, right?
I would think so. Wendy's in the house. So, Wendy, happy to have you along with us. Thanks for the comment. Thanks for being here. Yeah. So, well, I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer to this, Shane. This thing is probably going to keep going. We're probably going to keep these people here till they're all gone, and I don't know.
Well, look, militarily, it's too dangerous. It's too close to the United States.
Yeah.
It has
Well, it is. Yeah.
it has an excellent harbor for for an entire fleet. I mean, you could park an entire U.S. fleet in Guantanamo Bay and the harbor.
Yeah.
And you don't want anybody having access in any way to the Caribbean, because these are all despotic countries, unfortunately. That they're all pretty much ruled by dictators. But the fact is that they're conservative dictators. So politically, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of surprising that in a communist country we got a U.S. base there.
It's an oxymoron.
Yeah, they haven't kicked us out of Cuba. They haven't said, "Hey, we're done with you. Get the hell out of here. This is our country."
Yeah. Well, the U.S. has a lease, and they used to pay it in gold.
Oh well, if they've got a lease, oh my God.
Yeah. And
wow.
they have annual payments that used to be paid in gold, but it isn't anymore.
Yeah.
After 1940, Truman ended that, or FDR and Truman, whatever. But now, but they do pay the Cuban government for the property. But it's not one of these, 99-year leases or anything. It's a forever deal because it's embedded in the Constitution of Cuba. So when Cuba became independent, it's in the Constitution that the U.S. will have the right to this 45 square miles for eternity.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not like the Panama Canal or or Hong Kong to the British, where
Yeah, you can just cut it loose and see you later, and move out.
Yeah, that's right.
So
exactly.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there. It would be smart to have something in that part of the world. We don't have a whole lot we got a lot on the east coast of the United States, obviously.
Well, and you have Puerto Rico, and that's not far away.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as I pointed out, you ended up with that. With the Philippines and Cuba and Guam. Look at Guam from the Spanish for $20 million. Yeah, I mean that's 110 20 years ago. That's a pretty good deal. That's as good as Alaska when you look at it. Well, I mean, strategically, Guam, Puerto Rico, Cuba. They gave up the Philippines. Probably a smart move. I think that was the end of thinking that the United States, and this is sort of important. I think that was the end of the United States thinking that they would expand outside the continent. I always thought growing up and reading about all this and thinking through it, and why didn't the United States, instead of all this foreign aid and everything, say, if you want us to help, you become a state, follow our guidelines, follow our rules, follow our laws, and become a state. You got to be a territory first, and go through the process. But I just think that the Americans, because of what they saw in the world at that time, and remember who was president, that wonderful, KKK loving leftist policy, Woodrow Wilson, right?
Yeah.
And he was the one who was the vanguard of all this. That we don't we want to leave everybody free. We don't want any of it. And probably the only good decision Woodrow Wilson made, because the worst one was, watching the first movie about the KKK in the White House. I mean, like, this guy's crazy.
Well, and jumping into World War One. Also, you got that going for him. So, yeah, it's
better late than never. That's the Democratic rallying call. Right?
Well, that's true. So, yeah. Well, yeah. When we look at on the world stage, I think I agree with you. I think after World War II, a lot of people expected Guam and Puerto Rico and some of these others to just sort of be rushed in as extra states, because
like Samoa in the Southern Pacific. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, American Samoa. We did, we did Alaska and Hawaii, obviously, the last two to go in.
And then you have that other island in the Caribbean. Oh my gosh, off the coast of Venezuela. What's it called? It's gone out of my head.
Yeah.
Interesting that all these territories have representation in the House of Representatives. They but they don't have a vote.
Yeah,
but
they're not voting.
All territories have have representation, equal representation, but they don't have a vote.
Yeah. So they're well, that's as it should be, I guess. If they're going to be a territory of the U.S. or affiliated with the U.S., they ought to have some representation, I guess. Or
if you're going to believe in democracy, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be fair for one and all.
That's what they tell me. So, all right, have we beat this horse to death? Do you think?
We've covered it. It's in the books. It's on file. The film is up now. Anyone for the rest of all time can learn everything they need to know about Guantanamo Bay by watching our podcast. There you go.
All right, sounds good. All right. Hey, thanks for watching. Hey, don't forget to subscribe, ring the notification bell. You'll always be notified of our next podcast. That'll be Thursday at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. Like us, leave a comment. YouTube really likes that if you do those kinds of things. So we hope that you enjoyed today. And little information there. And Guantanamo's been kind of out of the news for quite a while. So we thought we'd bring you up to speed on what's going on down there. And,
well, it sort of came up with the your abandonment of Afghanistan, and people started talking about, because they were talking about how many of the Taliban that they let go, like you mentioned, and they let them go on the promise they wouldn't get back involved, and immediately, and now 3 of the 5 that left Guantanamo Bay, guess what? They're in the government, the Taliban government in Afghanistan. Wow. What an education they got. They got a great education, right?
Yeah. Well, you don't trade underlings. You don't trade for underlings. You trade for the big guys. So, all right. Linda, thanks for the information. Thank you for Linda for being with us. We appreciate that very much. Happy to do it. And I guess we'll see everybody on Thursday. So
by the way, if we have a chance to sometime in the future to get together for this thing you were talking about, like going to Yellowstone Park, you and I have to take Linda to lunch, okay? Because all right. If not dinner, dinner and a bottle of wine, something. But we gotta sit down along with her and tell her she's she makes our Tuesdays and Thursdays very special.
Yeah. Well, I think Linda's in Illinois, so I don't think she's gonna come here. We'll have to do it by Skype or something, maybe.
No, we're selling tickets, and that's why we'll sell tickets to rent the buses and buy Linda an airplane ticket.
Okay, there you go. She's probably down with that. So
yeah, I'm down with it. You should be too.
All right. Absolutely. All right. Hey, don't forget we're on radio every Saturday, 8 to 11 Mountain Time live. You can listen to us anywhere in the world, kmmsam.com, kmmsam.com. Go over there. All you got to do is click listen live. There's no sign up. There's nothing to join, nothing nothing you got to, no hoops you got to jump through. All you got to do is listen, and you can call us, you can text us. And, also I got a notice the other day from the FBI that some people are not subscribed to this channel, Shane. So
well, that's good.
Yeah, well, that's not good because we want you to subscribe. You got to subscribe and ring the notification bell, like us, leave a comment, because that's very important to keep us here and keep us operating. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up for us. So we will see everybody on Thursday. Bye for now.